Previously on Dooosty Reviews. And relive one of the few good things from my preteens. The lumpy space... person? Spelled Key-Per.
Oh yeah?
Yeah!
It kind of looks like my brother. It's a name that sticks with you like a shit-covered leaf.
I have been waiting for this moment my entire life.
There's the one I'm gonna left over.
Oh, oh, we started. Oh, God, that was shorter than I expected it to be. Okay, popcorn, hello. Adventure time! Witch's Garden, let's do this.
Wait a second. You're a bagel! Liars! Liars everywhere!
We start off the second half of the season the only way Adventure Time can, with Finn and Jake following a frog holding a crown. They follow the frog into a gated-off garden filled with plants that grow different pastries, namely donuts. Whilst exploring the garden, they come face to face with the witch who owns it as she catches Jake eating one of her donuts. The witch, in retaliation, strips Jake of his stretching powers, which, for some reason, results in him having the body of a chubby man. The witch tells Jake that the only way she'll give him his powers back is if he gives her a genuine apology, to which he refuses. Afterwards, Finn and Jake try to figure out what gave Jake his powers in the first place, and land on the theory that Jake got them from rolling in a mud puddle. With this, the two of them go on a quest to have Jake roll in every mud puddle anew, until he gets his powers back. Jake soon finds this difficult, however, as without being able to use his powers as a crutch, he soon succumbs to his own laziness. In order to get to the first puddle, Finn and Jake have to cross the Hudson River, something Jake refuses to do, for good reason if I'm being honest. Hell, even his subconscious thinks it's a bad idea. Finn, in an effort to get Jake across, fishes garbage out of the river to make a catapult, waking up an evil mermaid in the process. Finn launches Jake across the river, allowing him to roll in the mud, and it does nothing. Whilst the mud proceeds to do nothing, the
Beautiful mermaid of the river.
that Finn woke up emerges and captures him so that she can feed him to her freshly hatched
Hungry!
Does Pendleton Ward not know what a mermaid is? Jake isn't able to save Finn without his powers, and instead quickly returns to the witch's garden to apologize so that he can get them back. The witch doesn't accept the apology, however, and forces Jake to slow dance with his subconscious with flowers sticking out of his underwear. Jake does so until he finds out he's being recorded, giving enough time for his subconscious to die due to him no longer having his powers. Jake cries over losing his subconscious and being unable to save Finn, which causes the witch to grant him his powers as he had supposedly learned his lesson.
How can I ever thank... Ha! Gotcha, Kane.
Jake saves Finn with ease. Roll credits.
So, implying that those were just hatched.
Yeah, they're probably dead.
They're dead.
Man, Finn and Jake have a higher body count than Spider-Man.
This is a fun episode with great moments of Jake being his lazy self, and really helps solidify his character moving forward.
I may wake up at any moment. Nah, I'm still asleep.
This episode starts off with the best prank ever pulled. Jake throwing a garbage bag full of butter at Finn.
Oh, my dude, you just got pranked. Bet you didn't see that one coming, huh?
Finn vows to prank Jake back, and after pondering ways to do so, has the idea to build a never-ending pie-throwing robot named Nepter. Finn crudely slaps together a robot made of a tin can, microwave, treads, and some random circuitry, and surprisingly, it doesn't work. Or at least until the pile of scrap gets struck by lightning and Nepter is born. Nepter isn't exactly the most functional pie-throwing robot, however, as he struggles to even move. This pushes Finn to take Nepter to the Ice Kingdom so that they can steal one of the Ice King's lightning bolts and get the robot to his full potential. The two of them sneak into the Ice King's lair, pull the classic icicle in the butt crack. God, I wrote that. Pull the classic icicle in the butt crack prank. You know the one. Before getting caught and attacked by ice monsters. In the ensuing battle, Simon zaps Nepter with his lightning, achieving Finn's goal, and getting Neptr up to full power. Now, with the power of infinite pi, Finn and Neptr make their escape. However, as they do, Neptr and the Ice King start to feel a connection. The Ice King beats them to the treehouse and claims Neptr as his son due to him being
infused with my private particles.
gross. The Ice King and Finn have a custody battle, with Simon trying to coax Neptr before the robot ultimately decides to stay with Finn. Finn and Neptr knock out the Ice King and go to prank Jake, as Simon dreams of treating Neptr as a son, an ending somewhat soured by the knowledge that the next time Ice King and Neptr share a screen, Ice King has completely forgotten who Neptr is. I've never been a huge fan of this episode. Whilst it has its moments, the episode ultimately feels like filler. It's not quite in business time territory, but it's still not a great episode either. When it comes to Neptr as a character, he's okay, but he often just kind of comes off as a worse version of emo.
And I live in a 2-bedroom apartment that doesn't smell like vomit. Sarcasm.
This episode starts off with the Patrick McHale quote,
"In the dark recesses of the mind, a disease known as fear feasts upon the souls of those who cannot overcome its power."
Getting into the actual episode, we see Finn and Jake chasing a fire newt into the ocean, and Finn learns that he's actually afraid of it, and meets Fear Feaster, a physical manifestation of his fear. Finn tells Jake about his fear, and the two of them begin a quest to overcome it. The first attempt has Finn and Jake slowly walking into the water before Finn freaks out and starts beating up Jake, starting a running gag throughout the episode. For the second attempt at overcoming Finn's fear, Jake ties Finn to his bed and has him wake up in the middle of the ocean. Finn floats in the ocean for a bit before promptly beating up Jake again and sailing off onto some wreckage using Jake's ears. Quick side note, this episode has some of the best close-ups of faces in the entire series.
If you ask me. Finn, this is my bread and butter.
In the final attempt to get Finn over his fear of the ocean, he and Jake get into a submarine. This actually starts to work for Finn before they go over an abyss, causing Finn to freak out, beat up Jake for the trifecta, and accidentally destroy the sub. In the ensuing chaos, Jake gets knocked out and sinks to the bottom of the abyss, while Finn pulls the emergency cord on his suit and floats to the surface. Finn
dead.
found the pee balloon.
Do 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 do.
Come along with me.
God damn it. Finn soon realizes that Jake is in trouble and knocks himself out so that he can sink to the bottom and save Jake. Finn wakes up in the bottom of the abyss, wakes up Jake, and the two of them make it to shore. The Fear Feaster berates Finn for being scared and says he'll never be heroic, before being confronted by three wise men that assure Finn that his power comes from his flaws. We then get yet another Patrick McHale quote to close out the episode. On the surface, this is just another overcoming your fear episode that TV shows have been using for years. However, the humor in this episode really just carries it to greatness, in my opinion. My only real issue with this episode is the slight anticlimax of an ending. Besides that, it's solid all around.
Jake, this is bad news, man. We gotta go tell him that he can't eat his wife.
Let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
This opens up on Jake playing viola for Finn before they're paid a visit from the Ice King. The three of them begin to fight before Simon tells them he's getting married.
She fell in love with me the moment I slipped on her engagement ring.
As soon as you... What? Is this 90 Day Fiancé? Is she using him to get a visa? Anyway, the Ice King guilts our heroes into throwing him a manlarette party, which they begrudgingly agree to only so that he'll stop kidnapping princesses. We get a montage of the Ice King being just a shitty person overall, before he starts to have second thoughts on getting married because he will have to stop kidnapping princesses. Finn and Jake try to convince him to get married with Swanvor.
What? Oh, now I get what you guys are trying to tell me.
Oh god, Ice King's into Vor. Ah, god. I don't like that development.
I do.
God damn it. That works for some reason. Why has God left us? Cut to the wedding and we see the bride, old lady princess, tied up as part of the wedding ceremony. Finn and Jake go to check on her and find out she's actually been cursed by the Ice King's engagement ring. They confront the Ice King, a fight ensues, and it escalates to the ceremony finishing with Jake touching Simon's beard, meaning they are married instead of him and old lady princess. We cut to Finn and Jake relaxing in the treehouse, and the Ice King knocking on their door, wanting to celebrate his and Jake's divorce. This was an okay episode, definitely more on the side of filler, but funny enough to justify its existence. If that's not a glowing review, I don't know what is.
I choose sandwich.
Ah, hell yeah. Another one-word episode title that tells you absolutely nothing and could apply to multiple different episodes. Fuck this title. This episode starts off with Finn and Jake being dropped off at the entrance to a dungeon by Peebles so that they can put up warning signs. After they haphazardly set up all the signs, Finn asks Jake about the dungeon and learns about the crystal eye that is hidden there and is now determined to find it. Jake tries to convince Finn to stay and eat lunch, telling him that he won't even last down there without him. Finn bets Jake that he can retrieve the crystal in 11 minutes. Well, I hope so. And heads into the dungeon. This episode's kind of a mess, with Finn jumping from enemy to enemy, getting out of trouble by the skin of his teeth. The most interesting of these enemies, with the least interesting name, is Demon Cat, who has an approximate knowledge of everything. This gives us the running gag of him confidently calling Finn and Jake by wrong names and making false predictions. During his second battle with Demon Cat, Finn is saved by his supposed guardian angel, before she reveals that she plans on cooking and eating him, and throws him into a cage full of soup with Jake. Jake reveals that he's also been going through trials and barely getting past them, as the two of them learn that they are much better off working as a team. The two of them escape the cage, squash the angel, and finally go to retrieve the crystal eye. Doing so, however, releases eye demons that attack our heroes, who are promptly saved by good old P-Bubs. The three of them ride off, with the apparent lesson learned being that...
I learned that you are a very, intelligent princess?
You're darn right I am.
Dungeon is a great example of an episode that has so much potential that is sadly lost to the 11-minute runtime. This episode has some great moments, however the breakneck pace that is forced upon it by said runtime really makes it hard to get invested. One thing I really like about this episode, however, is that it gives us our first look at the more adventurous side of Bubblegum, and shows that she's more than just a damsel in distress.
Oh, thank you, Finn.
This one opens on Finn and Jake throwing potion bottles in a ditch outside the Candy Kingdom when the Duke of Nuts is seen fleeing the kingdom whilst being yelled at by Princess Bubblegum. Going about their business, Finn and Jake continue throwing bottles, with Finn throwing a boomerang-shaped one that flies back and through a window, hitting Peebles, burning off her hair, and turning her green.
What have you done?
PB thinks it's the Duke who threw the bottle, and is devastated that she's going to have to go to the grand meeting of Ooh Royalty in said condition. P-Bubs orders Finn and Jake to bring the Duke to justice, something that Finn is apprehensive about since he's the one who threw the bottle. Jake reassures him that it's okay since the Duke was already a bad guy anyway, and the two of them head off to find him. Our heroes make their way to the Palace of Nuts and find the Duke's wife, the Duchess of Nuts. The Duchess tells Finn and Jake that the Duke is gone nuts, and quickly reveals that she's probably the nuttiest of the bunch, going so far as to talk to bowls of mixed nuts and hear them talking back.
Would you like to hear what my nuts have to say?
Not the first time I've heard that one. Finn is afraid of the princess hating him if she finds out he's the one who threw the bottle, with Jake reassuring his brother that plenty of people hate him, and we get a brief glance of a squirrel that hates Jake for not talking about the squirrel's letter in his blog. This felt like a Family Guy cutaway, but it's actually important. Finn and Jake continue to hunt down the Duke and end up finding his son, the Marquis of Nuts, who has vowed to defeat anyone who's trying to hunt down his father. The Duke then reveals himself, stops his son from fighting Finn and Jake, and, after talking to his son in private, tells our heroes about his pudding deficiency, and that the princess hates him because he keeps clearing out her royal pudding supply. Finn and Jake, now feeling bad for the Duke, come up with a plan to stage an ambush towards Peebles while she's on her way to the grand meeting of Royalty, and make it seem like the Duke threw the bottle to save her life. The princess sees right through this, however, and still seeks to have the Duke arrested before Finn admits that he threw the bottle and pleads the Duke's innocence due to his deficiency. The princess drops all the charges, and as a way for Finn to make up for it, has him and Jake take her place at the meeting. Finn and Jake go to the meeting wearing bubblegum wigs and are attacked by the Marquis of Nuts and the squirrel from earlier as the episode closes. This is a very fun episode to watch, despite the fact that it has very little impact on the overall plot of the show. I really enjoyed the scene with the Duchess, and just like with the last episode, we see a little bit more of bubblegum here with how she reacts to the Duke.
Would you like something to drink?
You have any orange juice?
No.
We begin with Finn and Jake, shocker, walking through a forest when they come across a beggar asking for food. Finn, thinking there might be a reward, gives the beggar a sugar cube, only for the beggar to reveal himself as the one and only Magic Man. Magic Man, after revealing himself, promptly does Finn a favor and turns him into a giant foot. Finn is obviously upset by this and wants to hunt down Magic Man. However, Jake is oddly optimistic and thinks that Finn being a foot could be a good thing. After launching Finn into an evil crotch, Jake discovers a burning city and sends Finn to stomp out the fire, whilst he saves the babies.
Only the babies.
Finn, whilst attempting to put out the fires, falls over and starts burning. The townsfolk accuse him of starting the fires because he's a freak, and tosses him into a ditch. Jake meets back up with Finn, and the two of them discover more freaks under a bridge, all of which have been turned into body parts by Magic Man. Finn wants to get them all turned back to normal, however they've all lost hope, and more or less accepted their fate, which upsets Finn.
You're gonna make me give in to depression.
What are you gonna do about it? Probably nothing, right? If you're depressed, you'll do nothing.
I didn't think Adventure Time would call me out like this until at least season 3. 20 episodes in. Fuck. Anyway, Finn does what I've been trying to do for the past 12 years, and hypes himself up out of his depression, and to the point where he's able to force everyone around him to join together in one giant body, with Jake as the pants, and go hunt down Magic Man. The group finds Magic Man and beats him up until they find out the lesson was to not help out jerks. And Magic Man turns them all back to normal before teleporting away. After that, Jake admits he was so positive about the situation because he secretly always wanted to be a foot, despite always having the ability to stretch into one. This was a fun episode, despite the call-out. Magic Man is a great character, and I can't wait to see the future episodes where he's actually seen more. Other than that, I really enjoyed Jake's overwhelming optimism about Finn being a foot, juxtaposed against Finn's pessimism. Great episode all around, absolutely love it.
Gotta get pants, go get your pants, button fly!
This episode opens on Finn and Jake on safety patrol when they discover a bunch of house people, also known as housies, being terrorized by the obnoxious grass ogre, Donnie. Our heroes quickly run in to save the house people, with Finn easily fighting off Donnie with a simple chokehold. Jake scares him off with some huge antlers before Finn has the idea to bring him back home and rehabilitate him. They bring the grass ogre home and begin working on making him feel more empathy before Finn hears someone in trouble, runs off to save them, and leaves Jake in charge of Donnie. Finn discovers the house is being attacked by werewolves.
We're why wolves.
Oh, sorry about that. Finds out that the houses are being attacked by Y-wolves, and that Donnie created a chemical toxic to Y-wolves called obnoxygen, thus actually saving the house people. With the knowledge that Donnie was the one and only thing keeping Y-wolves at bay, Finn runs home only to find him completely rehabilitated, and even wearing pants. Finn and Jake drag Donnie out to the house people, trick both the Housies and wolves into making fun of him, and are able to get Donnie to revert back to being a jerk, thus warding off the Y-wolves once again. Our heroes head off, leaving Donnie to squeeze eggs out of chickens as he secretly misses Finn and Jake. This is kind of a nothing episode. It had some decent jokes here and there, but ultimately it was just not really that fun to watch. It gets close to business time territory, but not fully there. It gets close though.
Hey Finn, you thinking about how that guy's bow tie sort of looked like a bra?
Huh?
That fucking title card looked like the start of a porn.
I need to seek that out.
This episode begins with Finn and Jake playing with some bones. Please don't question it. When they overhear Marceline talking to an old man who turns out to be her henchman. Finn, feeling bad for the old man, interferes and eventually takes his place, now having to do Marceline's bidding for the rest of his life. This also starts a running joke throughout the episode of Jake trying to help Finn, but failing due to his crippling fear of vampires. The Buglers episode has Marceline intentionally messing with Finn so that he questions his morals without actually making him do anything evil. She goes from making Finn think they're about to kill someone when she's really just taking the color out of his bow tie, to resurrecting a skeleton army and sending them to the Duke of Nuts' castle, only for Finn to find out they're performing at the Duke's second son's first birthday, to forcing Finn to kill a cute dimple plant that once he refuses to kill, turns into an evil monster. After Finn and Marcy defeat the dimple plant, the two of them are seen in a strawberry patch talking about strangling pixies, when suddenly Jake, disguised as a giant strawberry, finally attacks Marceline, exposing her to the sunlight and presumably stabbing her with a wooden stake. After Jake celebrates freeing Finn and runs off, it is revealed that Marceline hid in Finn's backpack before getting stabbed, and fires Finn as her henchman, while still agreeing to strangle pixies with him later on. Another great episode all around. While Marceline's first appearance was great, this episode really cemented her as a character and just set her up to become a fan favorite.
What do you think about the stars in the sky?
It's okay, I guess.
Yeah, they're cool.
That is an interesting response.
We start with our heroes getting ready for a day of adventure when a knife storm rolls in, forcing the two of them to stay inside all day. After an underwhelming game of Conversation Parade with BMO, Jake starts using his imagination to keep himself busy, and ropes in Finn when the figments of imagination manifest themselves into reality, forcing the two of them to hunt down Jake's imagination off-switch. The two of them make their way through the house, fighting through lava floors, poison snakes, and a bazooka goblin.
The bazooka goblin has you in its sights!
Hey, don't shoot us with that bazooka! Don't do it, man! Okay.
When the two of them finally find the switch and turn off Jake's imagination, which has the unfortunate side effect of stripping Jake of his bombastic personality. Finn, realizing Jake is painfully boring without his imagination, goes into his own imagination land and imagines a new imagination off switch for Jake, turns it back on, and learns how fun it is to use your imagination. It was a really fun episode. I liked BMO's involvement in the beginning, even if it was brief, and I also thought the episode did a really good job at showing what it's like to be a kid just playing with your imagination.
Hey, princess, check out my new trick. It's snowing. It's snowing for you.
This episode starts with Finn and Jake plotting to capture the Ice King, which they do by tricking him with a can of peanut brittle that Jake jumps out of and knocks off Simon's crown, stripping him of his power. Our heroes then bring him to the Candy Kingdom at the request of Peebles and throw him in the dungeon without knowing what he even did wrong. Whilst there, however, the Ice King is able to convince them that he shouldn't be imprisoned because he hasn't committed any recent crimes, something Finn and Jake agree on, since they still don't know what they arrested him for. Finn and Jake then free the Ice King and imprison themselves before Princess Bubblegum walks in, upset that they let the Ice King go. P-Bubs then reveals that the Ice King gave the entire Candy Kingdom freezer burn flu with his beard flakes. Gross. And the only cure was for him to scream in agony, something the Ice King wouldn't do voluntarily, thus making Bonnie send Finn and Jake after him. Finn and Jake, now knowing what's at stake, go to the Ice Kingdom and eventually are able to trick him into howling in agony when Finn pretends to die of heartbreak. Ice King howls out in pain, the candy people are all cured, and Jake pretends to mourn Finn because the Ice King stopped caring. Okay, I guess. This episode is definitely in business time territory for me. There's some decent jokes in there, although there are in every episode. The main thing that bugs me with it, though, is not knowing what the Ice King did for half the episode really removes any stakes in the first half, and then by the time we have those stakes in the second, it just leaves me not caring. Overall, this episode is boring and forgettable.
I didn't throw up! This gruel is very adequate!
Yeah!
This episode starts off with Finn and Jake successfully rescuing the Mini Queen from a swamp monster before Jake starts following a scent that ends up being Billy's sword. We get a montage of Billy being a hero that includes the first appearance of the Lich, before Finn and Jake try to retrieve the sword and instead reveal...
Whoa! It's Billy's legendary crack!
I mean, it's a nice crack. Hell, one of the better cracks I've seen recently, but legendary? Our heroes walk inside and meet Billy, now an old man who tells them that being a hero isn't worth it, and that they should instead try helping people in non-violent ways. Finn and Jake, heeding this advice, go off to try helping people in non-violent ways. However, this doesn't work out well for them, with the consequences often falling on a poor cobbler. Finn and Jake make gruel for the poor townsfolk to eat, but ends up turning their skin to stone because of a potion they slipped in. The two of them try filling in for the cobbler, but end up making someone's shoe into a weapon using a magic nail. And then finally, the two of them go to give LSP plastic surgery so that she can have a swimsuit body, but end up turning her into a cyborg. Finally, the two of them see the swamp monster return and start beating up an old lady. Finn snaps and fights him off using violence, saving the day for the first time since the beginning of the episode. The old lady then tells them that it's okay to use violence to help old people, and ironically, tells them not to take advice from old people. Finn and Jake return to Billy with the old lady in tow, show that they saved her using violence, and end up filling the void left in Billy's heart by doing so. Despite the odd ending, this was a really fun episode with some great jokes at the cobbler's expense. I like the introduction of Billy in this episode, as it tells you all you really need to know about him. But the only thing I'm left wishing for is that they spent a little bit more time on the Lich. The Lich is the main antagonist throughout the series, and showing more of his rivalry with Billy would have been really cool and could have done a lot to set up how much of a threat he'd end up being. Maybe they'll do something in Distant Lands. We finish off the season with Gut Grinder. It's an episode. We start with Finn looking for Jake and more or less summoning him by playing viola badly. Whilst Jake scrabbles to retune his viola, Finn runs off to help the town full of soft people. The soft people tell Finn about the Gut Grinder. A giant monster comes through at night and steals all of their gold. Finn and Jake then go from town to town looking for the Gut Grinder, who they slowly find out looks a lot like Jake, slowly convincing Jake that he's the Gut Grinder. Once they get to the Spiky Village, they decide to disguise Jake with some Groucho Marx glasses so they won't think he's the Gut Grinder. However, the glasses soon fall off and Jake is thrown in jail, at this point fully believing that he is the Gut Grinder. Finn then has the idea to steal a golden tooth from the other prisoner and use it to lure out the Gut Grinder. We now have the actual gut grinder come out and beat up Finn for the tooth, before Jake, who has been put into a hypnotic state by the other prisoner rubbing his belly.
Gut grinder. Oh, gut grinder. You're a little cutesy. Little cutesy wootsy.
Am I the gut grinder?
There's a lot going on here that I do not want to unpack. Anyway, Jake, now in a hypnotic state to where he thinks he is the gut grinder, beats up the real gut grinder. Boy, that just keeps getting more fun to say. Jake then beats up Finn so that he can get the tooth and continues to wreak havoc until Finn once again plays Jake's viola badly and frees him from the hypnosis. The gut grinder is revealed to be the wife of the Spiky Village's mayor, and the whole village rewards Finn and Jake with a very painful hug. When researching the first part of this video, I checked out a list of worst Adventure Time videos, and I remember this ranking very highly. Whilst this episode is really nothing special, I still wouldn't put it anywhere near Business Time and What Have You Done. It's not a great episode, but it's not terrible. Overall, this is a below average episode, and a pretty bad finale, but you can definitely find worse. However, looking back at the rest of the season, I can easily see why I fell in love with this show 11 years ago. These early episodes were fun to watch and did a great job building the foundation the rest of the show stood on. One thing I've taken away from the experience of making review videos is that when I usually get to the point in a project where the scripting is almost done, I'm sick of it, and I don't want to touch that media for a while. While this could still easily change during the editing process, I'm still very excited to move on to Season 2 later on this year. I know an element of that is because I'm watching a series and not a standalone movie, but at the same time, I was completely done with anything Jungle Book related after reviewing the sequel, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And to build on that, between this video and the first half of Season 1, I finally got around to watching Distant Lands. And it only made me latch onto the show even harder. I'm excited to watch more at a level I've only really gotten from Adventure Time and SpongeBob. So yeah, while Season 1 isn't the masterpiece that later seasons ended up being, it's what made me fall in love with the show, and it will always make me excited for future episodes. Thanks for watching. Make sure to do all of the social media stuff to make algorithms like me, including liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Take care, and for the love of God, if the next episode of Distant Lands isn't about the Lich and Billy, I swear I'm gonna march over to Warner Media and